Hello, I'm Mr. Hollis,
I'm Mr. Thompson.
and today we're going to be talking to you about a short story which you have studied called The Pedestrian.
The Pedestrian. And it has setting as an important issue.
Really?
Really? Well, I think so. I mean, I make this stuff up on an hourly basis.
Wow, could you explain what the setting is?
Well, we shall in our podcast on setting.
Yes, so let us begin talking about
Setting.
setting, one of the key components to any good piece of writing. And in Bradbury's short story, not novel.
Not novel.
In his short story, it plays a major part in defining a lot of the themes. Isn't that not right?
I think that's right. The last time we were looking at this in class, I think Mr. Hollis and I have both tried to stress into our tiny brains that setting is important.
Setting is hugely important, and we're going to break up the ideas of setting into different little P's almost for your essay writing perusal or listening, and we are going to examine all these different things and hopefully help you to get some knowledge on this story.
If this is the millionth time that you are listening to this podcast, but at this point you'll probably be wanting to hit the fast forward button to bookmark it to this point, where we are now talking about setting.
Yes, the first key thing to do with setting is obviously the fact that Bradbury has chosen to set it in the future.
Very wise choice. Why, Mr. Hollis?
Well, science fiction writers often will set it in the future because they are science fiction writers, but it does play an important role because it means that they can then decide to have this story set in the future as a warning or as a potential, this is what could happen to society if we do not change our ways.
Yeah, like the weatherman forecasts in the next 4 dates, you might experience rain, flooding, snow showers, blizzards, or an army of small vermin taking over your town and running havoc. Bradbury chooses the future to forecast his ideas and where society is going. Unsurprisingly, in the time that he was writing it, he saw a huge bloom in technology.
A bloom.
Yeah, a boom. Well, a bloom in terms of a flower opening, but probably in his case like a kind of mouth of like a kind of Venus flytrap. Yeah.
The maw of the sarlacc. And, and he obviously in the 50s when he was writing, so he set his novel. Keep calling it a novel.
Short story.
He set his short story 100 years in the future almost, and at this time, television, advertising, they were all becoming sort of in the forefront. Televisions were much more predominant in houses, and he saw this as a dangerous thing, and he saw reliance on the pleasures of TV as something that could then take over the other pleasures, the more simple pleasures in the world.
Yeah, he liked walking.
He did like walking, as does Leonard Mead. So, in terms of setting, first of all, it's key importance that it is set in the future because it allows Bradbury to warn us, to make a prediction of if we do not change our ways, this is going to happen.
Yeah, and to be fair to the guy, it did, didn't it? I mean, for someone that's kind of taken on televisions where few people had them, and predicting that they're going to be in every household and that everyone's going to spend their evening glued to them, I can hold my hand up and say that, yeah, I do that.
Yeah, as do I, so, do not feel as if...
Anyway, on to the kind of, I guess when we're talking about setting, we've talked about the general setting in the future, but it's probably time to look at the specific settings as well.
Yeah.
And to be honest, guys, when you're thinking about your notes, this is only a means to hang your notes off of this, and you're thinking, God, is this going to be earth-shatteringly new? Well, it's about gearing your stuff towards a question and setting, so we're not going to be looking at anything that you've probably not heard of already.
Yeah, and in fact, we'll probably be using quotes that you're probably already starting to study, but obviously the fact is we're looking for you guys to use, particular quotes and then tailor them around the question.
Yeah, definitely. So first setting, do you think, Mr. Hoss, do you think it's the idea of the city streets that Mead walks in?
I would say that's hugely important. Obviously we have city streets, but first of all, they are quiet in the evening.
Yeah, and the idea that Mead, when he's walking out into the city streets, is experiencing peace and harmony and in himself, and he finds it soothing and relaxing.
In fact, that's what he most dearly loved to do.
It is what he most dearly loved to do.
And obviously, there is an extreme pleasure in the idea of walking at night. So the setting directly affects the character, and it directly affects his attitude, and a lot of his own feelings and his own sort of opinions on the world are actually expressed through the fact of through this quiet city street.
Yeah, so directing your attention at this point, guys, it might be a good idea to make a mental note to yourself. Go and look at the pedestrian quotations analysed on the message board, and you'll find a great deal of analysis about the Mead's love of walking.
The opening sentence, yeah.
Yeah, and tie that, in this case, directly to setting. So the setting of the city streets is where you're wanting to talk about Mead's love of walking, and why that's important.
Yeah. Now, shall we move on to the actual street
and
the pavement?
Yes.
Obviously, there's a bit of symbolism with the pavement. It is representative of something more. So the setting of the pavement, and the fact that the pavement is cracked and uncared for. It's not something that is, people go out and fix. And because of that, it's kind of more representative of the sort of lack in society of care.
Yeah, the fact that, the theme that we've talked about all the way through is that technology is wrecking people's lives. Well, technology's actually got them so glued indoors that they no longer look after the buildings, the streets, the towns, the communities. So you get actually a really interesting quotation about Mead stumbling over a particularly uneven section of the sidewalk. Why is that important? Well, as Mr. Hollis says, it's symbolism.
Yeah, it's like a microcosm almost of the sort of disregard for your surroundings, for your community, for your society. It's one small way of representing how people have just broken down in many respects. They don't care about each other, they don't care about the things they share in common. It's almost as if they've become sort of individual, everything's about me.
Yeah, they're so obsessed with themselves that they're not looking after each other.
Yeah.
And the sort of city, the buildings represent our care for each other. We're in it together, so we sweep the roads, we clean the streets, we wash the houses, we paint things, we look after the concrete, we make sure that there's no flowers and grass growing up our pavements. This society don't do that, they're obsessed with themselves.
Yeah, so again, you can hang your quote on, if you're looking at obviously the pavement, you're focusing on setting, but you're focusing on the pavement representing, so the specific idea of the pavement in the setting represents something more than just being a cracked pavement.
Again, you want more stuff here. I'm not going to say it more than once. Well, this is more than once, but
repetition for effect.
Yes, look at the notes and the quotations analysed. You will get word for word what you need. We're just trying to help you piece it together.
Yeah.
Okay, after you've done the setting of the city, setting of the streets, setting of
Shall we do the time of day?
Yeah,
I think the time of day is king and keen. That's a portmanteau.
Yeah, well, frivolous joy. Right, so
the time of day, Mr. Thompson, it's set at night, isn't it?
It is set at night, but also there's a curious bit where he refers to the daytime as
and
well.
The comparison between daytime and night.
I think in some ways, in your essays, if you've looked at the world that Mead enjoys at the night time, you've talked about him walking around enjoying things, you've talked about the city streets crumbling, you probably don't necessarily need to go in with the quotation about the streams and dry seasons, but it would be a good point to do the contrast with the world of the day.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about that, you're thinking, well, what's people's lives like when Mead's not creeping around, looking in at their houses?
Sounds a bit terrifying.
It does a bit around here.
But no, I mean, you're completely right. The setting of during the daytime, this idea, it's a hive of activity, and we actually have a metaphor of insects and commuting, and this idea of it's something that's almost disgusting, it's repellent.
Yeah, nasty little dirty insects crawling all about the place.
And again, it's hugely important that this is, at night it's something he can enjoy because the people who are scrabbling about during the day are not there.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at it. I mean, you probably chauffeur driven to work in the morning.
I am indeed.
Showering, but
Cedric.
yeah, but when you're looking out on that and you're seeing everyone driving their cars and trying to frantically get to work, we live in a busy society. We live in a society obsessed with
timekeeping, with getting there, and it's almost autonomous, isn't it?
It creates stress. Now, would you not rather be mid kind of walking along very peacefully rather than road raging it up to the school in the morning?
I would.
Oh, I would, yeah.
I would rather show up at 9 o'clock in the evening when there's no kids about.
Well, yeah, or sit at home doing podcasts for them to just listen to.
Exactly.
Much more fun. But anyway, the setting of the daytime's got important significance. If you want to tie your ideas here to the thunderous surge of cars and think again that quotation's analysed, but thinking about how that illustrates the sheer scale of busyness and horrible, disgusting nature of the daytime, it helps us think, well, maybe Mead's right.
Maybe the fact of going out and having a walk in the evening is
more relaxing, and more individual. Because if everyone's doing the same thing, then we can't be individual, which is another.
My thoughts exactly.
Exactly.
See what I did there?
Oh yeah, Mr. Hollis just copies me.
So you can now think that you've got 4 different things now at this point to do with setting. You have the futuristic setting, you have the actual physical sidewalk, you have the contrast between the day and the night. What was the other thing we talked about?
I think that the settings of people's houses is important.
Well, I mean, yeah, it certainly is. The fact that, first of all, the setting of being outside the house is looking in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's firstly important.
I think that it helps reinforce how lacking in freedom the people are. That when they're inside their houses, the language that Bradbury uses helps us think that they have got no quality of life at all. And it's actually very easy things to talk about. The first thing that you want to mention is all the words associated with death that he uses.
Tombs and dead,
like
and
a graveyard
and
phantoms. It's all language that goes, these guys have no life.
Yeah.
But like you, Mr. Hobbs.
Exactly. But again, this is something that can be tied directly into discussing setting, because although the people are characters, perhaps, you can tie it into, obviously it's the setting which has the effect on them, and you can again you can use the quotes of the lights. That's part of setting. The fact that they are not actually interacting with their setting, they are letting it take a hold upon them. And again, to an extent, you can contrast that with Mead, the fact that he picks up a leaf, so he directly interacts with his setting and actually takes pleasure from it.
Yeah, he's curious. I mean, he's going round. He's thinking, this world that I live in is okay, is interesting, and he has an interest in it, whereas the others, everything happens to them. The light from their television touches them. It's they're not really watching the television. Their emotions aren't really engaged. It's a bit like the old-fashioned phrase "chewing gum for the eyes." I know. Keep it.
Is that an idiom?
It's an idiot, I think.
It is an idiom.
So inside the houses, you want to have a look at some of the quotations there. Again, they're all on the internet on the page. So.
And again, to just directly tie it into, again, I mean, you could do it however you feel you want to do it. You could do it contrast, the outside with the inside, or of course you could just look specifically at the setting of the inside and the effect it has on the others.
Yeah. Restrict yourselves, though. I would say. I mean, don't. There's about 5 or 6 quotations for each paragraph here. Don't kill yourself. Do 1 or 2 well, and move on. The whole idea here is to keep it coming, not to get bogged down. So the more you learn the analysis for each of these things, the faster you can write it.
Yeah.
Final setting, Mr. Hollis, the inside of the police car.
The sterile nature of the police car. Again, we can contrast this with, first of all, outside where everything's a lot more free form. I mean, even though the streets are cracked and it shows that they're not being taken care of, there's still a sort of, nature is coming through in it. Whereas when we get to the police car, we have something that is completely different. We have a sterile, clean, almost, it's clean because humans are dirty.
Yeah, it sees humans as a disease that it wants to rid the world of. And I think that there's a danger here, or at least there's a danger in a setting question that you can't really mention the character of the car's voice and things like that. It's not really relevant to a setting question. But as Mr. Hoss was saying, you can get into the inside of the police car, where it talks about the harsh antiseptic smell, and it smelled too clean and hard and metallic. There was nothing soft there. You can get into that, and I would sort of see it through the lens of, this is the character of technology. This is what
this is technology.
This is technology.
This is the personification of technology. So setting defines character to a great extent.
So if we're thinking, well, what does Bradbury think technology is like? Well, he sees it as this cold, hard, personalityless force that takes away our freedom. And the car, literally in the story, takes Mead's freedom away.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you like that?
I did. But yeah, no, you're totally right. It literally imprisons him, but it's also kind of symbolic, the setting as well.
Yeah.
So the final thing is obviously that journey home at night. He passes one house, one of the houses, the last setting. One of the houses is different from the rest, isn't that right?
I think he goes, "That's my house."
I believe he does in the animated version, and it's kind of scary.
It's mildly scary. I'm scared of Blair Mead.
I am. But that's something, for you to look at. The one house that's different, and obviously it's the house that belongs to Leonard Mead.
And he's an individual, as if we didn't get it
as if we hadn't repeated it six times, and we didn't get it from the fact of everything else we have talked about.
I'd rather not be an individual.
I'd follow the horde. But the quote at the end was, they talk about the lights being out in all the houses except for obviously the television on. That's the focal point. And the last house that is described is Mead's, and it's bright, it's light. It is the one house that's different.
Through the night.
Through the night. So it's welcoming. It's approachable. It's, it's all the things that Mead himself is. It's individual. So again, we can talk about the setting, again, defining the character of Mead.
Mead's house equals what his personality is like. Police car's setting inside equals what technology's character is like. So, quick roundup. City. Overall idea, it's in the future. Second paragraph.
Point 2.
Mead likes to walk in the streets.
At night.
A
big contrast today. That is kind of important. It is important that you contrast it to the day.
4. The broken...
3.
The broken down streets.
They are symbolic of the lack of care. And
of care?
Yes, and the fact that this is a society that has become individual and does not care for each other, and they're all mean. They're big meanies.
Nasty. 4. 5? 4.
4. Police car.
Police car. Or the houses.
Houses,
yes, houses. Damn it. I said anything.
4 houses.
Houses of the other people in society. Graveyards, tombs, nasty.
They are dead inside.
5. Police car.
5. The police car is a sterile environment. It is the personification of technology because everything is clean and it treats humans as a disease to be wiped out.
Nasty. 6. Mead's little journey past his house. That's my house. It's all very nice.
It's shiny.
I've been Mr. Thompson.
I've been Mr. Hollis. In conclusion...
editing.
In conclusion, it is clear to see... You should be writing this in your essay. Yeah. In conclusion, it is clear to see that Bradbury uses setting effectively to convey various elements about character and about symbolism.
Yeah, and the dire warning to society, if we keep on following the herd and allowing technology
to dictate our lives,
we shall become lifeless, drone-like creatures with no worthy existence.
And we don't want that.
No, we don't.
So, hopefully that has helped you with setting. And I hope that certainly I've enjoyed myself.
As has I.
And we hope that, this... all joking aside, let's put on our serious faces.
I'm serious.
All joking aside, this should help you hopefully cover the main themes of the story, and hopefully it has made a bit more sense of why setting is of importance in the story.
Today's podcast has been brought to you by the letters P, the letters S,
And the number 5.
the number 5. 6! 6!
6! Enjoy. Enjoy the Pedestrian. It's good. Bye bye.